Hello and welcome to my mental health mini-series. I am so excited to have you guys here. Over the next couple of days, you're going to be getting a couple of videos from me and a couple of challenges from me, all on topics that pertain to our mental health, and specifically things that we can add to and help with the state of our mental health so that we're feeling better and just more capable and stronger by the end of this series. And I'm really excited about this. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. There is a lot of mental illness in my family. I suffer myself with depression and anxiety, and I know firsthand just how debilitating it can be to be fighting your own brain and your own body and your own self, really, just every day, kind of fighting to get out of bed and fighting to do the next thing. And I personally know how hard this can be because even knowing all of the information, sometimes I still get caught in these cycles of not really doing a very good job of taking care of myself. So I've been focusing the last couple of years on self-care and healing and restoration for my own body. And then I opened my practice helping other people do the same thing, specifically helping people reverse autoimmune diseases. I myself was diagnosed with 4 autoimmune diseases, and over the last 3 years I was able to reverse the actual attack and damage on my body and really get my life back. And in doing that, I wrote about it in my book, Journey Back to Health. And I explain this whole process of going through just the unbelievable challenge of healing from illness, physical or mental. And in the book, I do talk a lot about mental health, and I wanted to really put some concrete evidence and tips and suggestions for you guys together in one place. So even though you can get little bits of information on mental health and stress and sleep and all of these things from my book, and we're also giving away a free chapter this week, so I believe you're getting that with this series. And that chapter is going to give you even a little bit more information, but I wanted you to have a good place for just these videos where hopefully you'll get information to help change your mental health right away, or at least recognize when things are going to that place so that you can kind of stop those patterns and stop those habits and really get on such a good cycle. So over the next 3 videos, you're going to be learning about stress and how stress affects our mental health, as well as what foods can affect our mental health. I know it seems crazy, but the things that we eat can actually make us happier or kind of sad, low, depressed, and all of those awful feelings like anxiety that can come about. So there are actually foods that we can avoid or we can add into our diet that will help benefit and help strengthen our ability and our adaptive ability to deal with stress and our mental health on a daily basis. So that's really powerful stuff. We're also going to focus on sleep. And I know that this is such a struggle for most of us because we have so much to do and so much on our list. So how could I possibly ever change my sleep schedule? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of tips in that video as well to help you rebalance and restructure your life so that sleep becomes a priority. And by adding these other things in, like stress reduction and stress reduction in the body, as well as some of these healing foods and eliminating some foods, you can really get this overall picture for how to cope with and deal and heal from mental health inabilities or abilities. So I'm really excited to have you. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me. If you haven't worked with me before, my name is Sharissa Bradley. My training is as a psychologist. I have a master's degree in experimental psychology, which means that I've been doing a lot of research for a lot of years in the realm of health and healing and what it can do for your body. And then I personally went through my own healing journey with reversing 4 autoimmune diseases. And now I work with people one-on-one, helping them to reverse autoimmune disease, get their life back, get their journey, get back on track to getting their health. Because I really, really strongly believe that the body knows how to heal itself. And all we have to do is get out of the way and let it do what it knows how to do best, which is create and live and just feel joy. So once we can get back to that place, we can really have our life back. And that's my purpose and my mission, is to help you at any stage, no matter what age you are or what point you are in your healing journey. My goal is to get you to that other side so that you're feeling, like you can do the things again. For me, mental health and physical health took so much away from me, including the things that I loved to cook in the kitchen. And it even gave me kind of fear and anxiety about what I was allowed to eat and what I could and couldn't do with myself. It also took away my ability to do my coping mechanism, which was running. I used to run every day, and that was my stress relief. That was my way of burning off that energy. And autoimmunity and illness and mental illness stripped all of those things away from me. And I had to really build again the things that I enjoy, the things that bring me joy, and finding peace and kind of that good middle ground back into my life. And that took a long time. But I'd like to start with you guys with mental health, because I think if we can start with the mind and we can start with where we're going up here, then we can start to make those physical changes as well. And what I see most often with my clients, and what I saw with myself, is that we often hold ourselves back based on our beliefs about our health. And when we're ready to decide to let all of that go and be this healthy, vibrant person who's not afraid to live this vibrant life, we're able to start making those changes. But all of that starts here, and we have to start with the brain first. So that's why we picked chapter 2 from the book. So Journey Back to Health is the name of my book that came out in December. And you're getting free with this mini series, the chapter on beliefs, because this is where you have to start. You have to start with the understanding that your brain and your body have the ability to regenerate and heal themselves from all kinds of ailments, from every kind of ailment, including anxiety, depression, and any other mental health challenges that you may be dealing with at this time, or at any times throughout the year. Some people are more affected during the winter months, and some people are less affected, obviously, during the summer months when the sun is out and vitamin D is much more surging in the environment. So even these tips, if they don't necessarily resonate with you right now, they may be something that you can follow later on in the year as your body shifts and changes occur. So thank you so much for going on this journey with me, and I'm so excited to share with you all of my tips and tricks for mental health. Hello, and welcome to part 1 of the mental health mini series. I'm so excited to have you here. On this video, we're going to be talking about sleep and how sleep has an effect on our mental health. It's a really big effect on our mental health. If you've ever dealt with insomnia or not being able to get a consistent amount of sleep on a regular basis, you know that the minute you wake up from being sleep deprived, you're already set back in the day, and you're already kind of feeling, oh, how am I going to get through this day without having had any sleep? And I personally understand this. I dealt with insomnia for a very long time. Most of my teenage years, early into my adulthood, I just assumed that that's just what my normal was, that I really never needed more than 4 to 6 hours of sleep. And nobody ever talked to me about the fact that that was actually, insomnia, and that was actually causing huge health detriments in my body because I was setting myself back every day. So new research is showing that Americans are losing about an hour or more, so 1 to 2 hours, if not more, of sleep every single night. So this becomes a deficit. So that's a subtraction on your sleep that you need. And it doesn't really seem like a lot, right? 1 hour a night, that's not that big of a deal. Oh, 1 hour, it's not a big deal. You'll make it up at some point. And on the weekends, you sleep longer maybe. But the problem is that deficit actually adds up and stacks against you over time. So after a month, that 1 hour has now become 30 hours. And maybe you even get one extra day where you're getting 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep, or you're taking a really great power nap. The problem is that deficit is still stacked so heavily against you that you're not able to build up the ability to, have this strong immune system or the ability to deal with stress or the stressors in your environment. And by losing that and by creating that deficit, the mental health and the brain and processing takes a really huge hit. And it's a really big problem. It's a really big problem for all of us. And if this is something that you're struggling with, then you're not alone. Sleep is very challenging to come by these days because we're in such a fast-paced environment where every day we have to-do lists that are miles long and astronomically it's crazy to think that we could ever get through those lists that we create for ourselves for the day. By the time we get to the end of the day, we're laying in bed feeling like we failed because we didn't get through all of the things that we needed to get through during the day. And the reason we put so much pressure on ourselves is because we're living in this, really fast-paced society where we're forced to kind of work or push to work in an environment where we have times during the day. So we got to get up at some point in the day. We got to drive to some place during the day. We got to be there for a certain amount of time during the day. And that takes a concrete chunk of your day. And that makes it very challenging to plan or to create better sleep habits because we just kind of get into this rut or routine of losing that 1 to 2 hours a night. So we really have to stop the cycle, and we really have to realize that sleep is actually this kind of really super important thing, and it's not something that we should put off until we're dead. We should really be focusing on how we can get quality sleep now so that we can function the absolute best that we can throughout the day. A couple of things that we can do. I'm going to give you a couple of tips that we can do to actually increase and get better about sleeping. But I want to tell you why it's so important first, because I think it's valuable to understand that it's not just important for us to have the information or be told this is what you need to do, but you also need to understand the mechanism behind it and the reason that the body needs sleep so badly. It's a common misconception that our brains shut down while we're sleeping, and the body is just kind of like done and it's going to turn off for the night. And that's not actually true. Our body and our mind and brain continue to process throughout our sleep. And in fact, they process more heavily and do more work sometimes when we're sleeping than when we're actually awake. And the reason it does that is because when we're awake, we need all of the energy that we're putting into our body to do our daily activities. So things like getting up and getting dressed and getting ready for work in the morning, or going to work, or taking care of kids, or whatever it is that you do for your job, even if it's just thinking or paying attention to something during the day, that requires energy. And energy is coming from calories or intake or food that we're eating. That equates to the energy that we can use then to do our daily activities. And in doing those activities, our body is using all of that input energy. And it's only when we sleep that the body is allowed to heal and repair and restore itself. So all of that damage and all of the things that we do to our body all day, including any new information that we take in during the day. So this video that you're watching right now, I'm guessing that there's something new that's going to be here for you, hopefully. And that information is going to have to get assimilated and turned into memories in your brain so that you're able to use it. And the only time it does that really is during sleep. And so we need a certain amount of time to sleep for our body to repair. And research has shown that that's somewhere between 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. And that's what it takes to heal and restore our body, as well as take in all of that new information and really process it. But what's happening to most of us is that we're going to bed later and later, and we're waking up earlier trying to get everything done. And our body is set back and back and back. And every day that we wake up with less and less sleep and less of that time to restore and to heal, our body is less capable of taking on the challenges during the day. So when you have somebody who's coming up to you constantly asking you to do something or interrupting you or needing you to change tasks, we have less of an ability to do that because our body is under so much more stress because it's got that deficit from not getting enough sleep. So if we can start with sleep and start with making sleep a priority, we can really start to understand and see that healing process taking over. And when we wake up having had more sleep, and it takes some time to adjust to this, it's going to take time to get more sleep. It's going to take time to recover from the years of not getting enough. And once we get to that point, you can see the body has more of an ability to deal with all of the stressors of everyday life. And that in turn affects our mental state and our mental ability. Because if you can answer people regularly, talk to people regularly without feeling overwhelmed or getting too much in our head, we're eliminating a lot of that anxiety, we're eliminating a lot of that stress, and we make it easier for ourselves to go into places of gratitude and love and self-care because we're not pushing ourselves so much to those endless boundaries. The way we end up finding out that sleep is so important is by starting to get more sleep, and you'll start to see it for yourself. For the first couple of weeks of sleep training for myself, I ended up needing way more sleep than I thought I would, and then I balanced out around after a few months of doing this because my body was just so far behind. So a couple of things that you can do to help get yourself some more sleep. You can try to get to bed a little bit earlier, which everybody says like, oh, I can't get to bed any earlier. My list, I want to do these things after my kids go to bed. Well, the best way to get yourself to going back to bed and getting yourself into a good sleep habit is to do what I call sleep training. So sleep is actually a learned behavior. It's not something that we can just, like take some magic pill and like be able to sleep again. We can actually train our body to know when to go to bed. And this is really cool because our body knows to recognize cues in our environment, and it starts to help us with whatever it is that we're trying to do. So super amazing. It used to be that the sun would go down and our body would be cued that the sun was down, there was no more light, and it would start to produce melatonin and acetylcholine and these other hormones that are necessary for going to bed and getting rest. And unfortunately, and fortunately, now we have indoor lighting and we have cell phones that have blue lights and we have computers and we have TV screens that can go all night long. And there's at no point do we have to tell our body that the lights have turned off because we have these really great nifty things that we can just kind of flip a switch and now they're on all the time. So if we're trying really to get extra sleep and we really actually want to pursue getting a better night's sleep, we can start this sleep training process. And I tell people to go back to either your childhood and your sleep routine, whatever that was, or if you're a parent and you have a sleep routine that you do for your kids, keep that in mind for yourself. And we can start to build these kind of evening routines, playing off of the idea of a morning routine. You wake up, you brush your hair, you make your bed, you do some meditating, you do some stretching, reading, whatever it is that you're going to do for your morning routine. We can do the exact same thing, but for an evening routine. So things like turning down the lights at a certain time of the day, again, to start cueing your body, maybe taking a shower, maybe turning off your cell phones at a certain point, maybe about an hour before you decide to go to bed. Maybe doing some light stretching, maybe doing some reading before bed, whatever it is that you want to build into your routine in the evening. I use this as like my self-care time. I wash my face, I'll do, any kind of hygiene regimen that I want to do that feels like pampering. I'll do some long stretches, I'll read a nice book, anything I can do to kind of start calming my body down. But the things that I avoid are looking at my cell phone, bright lights, loud noises, things that are triggering to my body that it's still awake time. And the really amazing thing is that your body will start to pick up on these cues and it'll start to do all the hard work for you. What needs to happen is that your hormones need to get to a certain level that you can easily drift off to sleep. And in order to do that, your body needs to know that it's time for bed. And when we're scrolling through Facebook or we're scrolling through Instagram at 11 o'clock at night and we're reading things like, so-and-so's having a baby, so-and-so got engaged, so-and-so has passed away, so-and-so had to put their dog down today. All of those cues are telling your brain it's time to think, it's time to think, it's time to think, it's time to think. None of those things are going to help those hormones to turn on and say, it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep. So when we can start to cue the body to shut down, to let go, to calm down, the body will do all the hard work for us. That's such an amazing part of healing and health, is the body knows exactly what to do. We just have to get out of the way. And so by getting out of the way, by creating a little bedtime routine for ourselves, we can start sleep training again, get ourselves back into that place of sleeping like a baby, right? Because they get that nice soothing bath and maybe some lotion and maybe a little story and lay down and their back rubbed and someone sings them a song. Maybe you need to go back to that place of comfort and a little bit every single night so that your body can learn to go to bed on its own. And it doesn't take that long, maybe a month of consistently working on your sleep habits, and you can get that hour or 2 hours back that are really so necessary for healing and for dealing with the everyday challenges. And when we are able to sleep and heal and restore, we're ultimately also allowing our brain to release that depression, the anxiety. All of those things are based on our hormones. And if our hormones can regulate themselves, instead of being this like crazy wave of emotions, we can have this balanced hormone structure, then we start to feel better. We're better able to deal with our life and we're better able to handle the things that come our way. Okay, I want you guys to do a couple of things for me today. So if you've watched this video, thank you so much for putting in the time. In your email, you also got an Instagram post. If you are into doing the challenges, it's one thing to get information. It's a whole other thing to actually put them into action. So if you can take that first step, you're going to take this information and you're going to turn it into knowledge. And that's what's going to be powerful. And that's what's going to actually create change. So go to your email, get that little picture, fill out the challenge, and then tag us on Instagram. I'm at Sharissa Bradley on Instagram. And let me know that you're doing this. Let me know that you're taking this step for your mental health and that you're doing the mini series, because I'm so happy for you and I want to cheer you on. And the way I can do that is if you let me know that you're doing these things. So go on, complete the challenge, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much.